speaking today, inshallah, with Sayyida Shifa al-Attas. You're working in the Institute for Diplomatic Training, which is a branch of your foreign ministry, and you're involved in you're the head of the publications department. We're looking generally at the condition of gender relations in the Ummah right now. And yesterday we met with some Malays that would really give you the indication that they were disastrous right now in Malaysia.
Was it Sisters in Islam?
Right, Sisters in Islam. Okay. On the other hand, most people's average experiences are often quite different from how the media would portray them.
There are serious problems with our Sharia implementation of laws. Right. You know, the Quran is very clear, yeah. And the courts can and do give just pronouncements, but then at the end of the day, how do you implement it? But then that's a problem everywhere. Not just here.
Yeah, that was my point, is that these are global problems, and I find Malaysia, out of all the Muslim countries, is one of the best countries.
I think so, and that's why I say I'm comfortable living here, you know. I mean, I'll give you an example from my own personal experience. I mean, I actually managed to get from the Sharia court the, what do you call this, the state to intervene to deduct salary from the employer of my husband. And I mean, that's quite a radical move. I mean, the state actually intervenes on the basis of an enactment from the Sharia court. And my non-Muslim friends in a similar predicament were very impressed. They said, wow, you know, you can actually do that, you know, because they said,
because of the
we can't, we just, you know, we don't have that sort of legal rules, you know, at our disposal.
As a woman, what do you think that some of your challenges are that you deal with in Malaysia or in other Muslim countries as well?
I think the biggest challenge is the fact that everywhere in the world, not just here, you know, but there's a, I mean, God is being removed from all aspects of our lives, so that in the end, you know, we lose our purpose. And I mean, I think that, like, I have 2 little children, and I sometimes worry. I think, you know, what's the world going to be like for them when they're old, and how are they going to deal with it, you know? Because even now you have, I mean, like last week I think I was quite shocked to see in the paper a report about a Dutch pedophile. They actually have a society there, and they were pushing for legalizing pedophilia and also legalizing, you know, sexual relations with children and doing away with age barriers. And they were talking about, you know, our rights, you know. And I thought that was very, very frightening, you know, because people, I think people, at least certainly politicians, you know, they go on and on about rights, you know, but that word actually is connected to human, the human being, right? It's human rights. So when you talk about human rights, you have to talk about what is the human being first, and then the right that pertains to that. So I mean, if you're talking about
there's not really
people who are actually no longer behaving like humans, basically pedophiles,
yes.
Then therefore you cannot say that they have those rights, you know, and that kind of thing.
We don't really even have a word, because they're not even bestial. It's not really fair to call them animal-like, because animals don't behave that. For me, there's so much bashing of the Muslims right now. Our media in the West is very attracted to those type of things. They want to amplify those aspects of Islam and just completely downplay the fact that our families are much more integral than Western families still. I mean, you know, Muslim families are moving towards parity, but at the present current conditions, there is a much stronger family network in Muslim countries, which is absolutely clear and undeniable.
And Westerners recognize that when they visit.
Yeah, they do when they see it. Yeah, no, I lament. I mean, I actually I was in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia, in Al-Ahsa, and I was in a room, and there was a man, Shaykh Abdurrahman Mullah. He was 92 years old at the time, and everybody in the room, he was what they call a nasab, somebody that knows lineage. and he knew the lineage of that whole area. And he asked the first person, who are you? And he said, Abdullah. He said, bin men, you know, son of so-and-so, who? And he said, bin Hussein. He said, son of who? And he said, bin so-and-so, bin so-and-so. And then he said, he went to about 6. And then he said, you don't know past 6? And he said, no. He said, you're Abdullah, the son of Hussein, the son of so-and-so, the son. He took him all the way back to Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. He knew he was, Aqil ibn Abi Talib. He knew he was an Aqili, but he took him all the way back. He asked the next person, and then he said, your 6 grandparents were brothers. They didn't even know they were related. And then he went to the next person. Every single person in the room, with the exception of me, was related. And he showed them the silsila, and how they were all cousins. And they were living in the same village. And they'd forgotten that. And then he said, تَعَلَّمُوا أَنْسَابُكُمْ تَصِيرُوا أَرْحَمُكُمْ, you know, learn your lineage so that you can keep blood kinship bonds together. And I literally broke down. I started weeping. And the reason that I broke down was because of the fact that we're moving in the United States to 50% children born out of wedlock.
In the end, men are sons of a woman, and you know, the woman will nurture men, you know. So in other words, the society, you know, it's sort of resting on the women, how they bring up their men and women, you know. So if now this sort of thing is happening, how do we ensure that when our children are grown up, that they don't inherit, not only inherit them, but you know, have even worse difficulties to face, you know. I think in Western or Greek, is it that Icarus who flew up,
yeah,
and he flew too high, and his wings were up to the sun.
His father warned him, because he made the wings out of wax.
Yeah.
So
they melted,
he put them together.
When he flew up.
He said, don't fly too high.
Yeah.
And the Quran is constantly talking about tilka hududullah. These are the limits that God has put. فَلَا تَعْتَدُوهَا. Don't transgress these limits. That we've been given that capacity to transgress, whereas other creatures have not. They're limited by their very nature.
But not only that, I mean, the fact that we've given a capacity not to transgress limits, but also to recognize that there are limits.
There are limits.
And I mean, even in things like human rights and all that. So I mean, I'm not the sort of, I don't consider myself like this, you know, this feminine, you know, my rights, because I think that I have enough already in my religion to allow me to live in peace and harmony.
I mean, for me, the word Islam means submission.
Yes.
In the end of the day,
yes,
there are things in the religion that are going to trouble you.
Yes.
But if it was all perfect according to my hawa, according to my own caprice, my own whims, my own desires, it wouldn't be called submission. It would be called something else. It would be called just what you like.
Yes.
But it's really been very nice for you to grace us with your time.
Yes,
and may Allah give you tawfiq. May Allah give you tawfiq in your work and in what you're doing.
And for your kids too, inshallah.
Yeah,
give you the strength to raise them.
Inshallah.
So thank you very much for the time. And inshallah, paths cross again.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tafaddalu again to KL.
Yes, inshallah.
Okay, do you think Muslim women are free in Malaysia and in the Muslim world in general?
I think that is a problem throughout Asian society. They always feel that men is superior compared to women, you see. Any Asian society, anywhere in Asia. In terms of education and all, I would I'm shy to say this, but I think they do better than men.
They have to follow their rules. I mean, Muslims cannot do this, cannot do that, cannot go out in public. I mean, like, you see now, you can see them freely. They are moving around with men, and you know, they mix around with people. Those days, no, they must be all like, under control and everything. So I feel now they are so much free.
I mean, there are certain countries where Muslim women even can't stand for the election as a candidate. Whereas in Malaysia, in some part of the world, Muslim women are free. There should be a change in the Muslim world, like what we practice in Malaysia. I actually feel that the Muslim woman should be given freedom, more freedom. to play a more important role in the present world.
Yes, in my opinion, the Malaysians nowadays, especially the women Muslims, they are free, especially in their appearance, and they can just speak whatever they think in their doings, and what they in the working environment. They can just go and just work whenever they want, they like, and can be anybody they like.
My wife always doesn't like, when we talk about polygamy, but personally, as a Muslim, I have to say that polygamy is good. It's how you perceive it, and sometimes, men try to be fair, but their wife not allowing them to do so, right? For example, I have 2 wives and I want to spend a night with my second wife, for example, but my first wife will keep me at home. So, sometimes, it's not only one side to be blamed. But for me as a Muslim, I have to believe that polygamy is good. That's for the polygamy is actually exists to cater for women. It's not for men actually. Yeah.
I don't really agree with polygamy because I feel like men are like mistreating the women. They are like using up the women for their own need.
What if your husband came to you and said, I want to have more than one wife? What kind of would your reaction be?
I'll ask him what's the reason. What's the concrete reason can he give me that he wants to take up another wife? And if he says, if there's something true about it, I'll ask him to go ahead with it, and but just ask him to leave me alone. I would not like to live together with another woman.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Nowadays, yeah, it's like man and women is like same level. It's not like last time. Always man is the, we are happy here actually. There's nothing limited here. I mean, but you should know what you're doing, lah. Now, of course, there's certain rules and regulations where you have to, follow. But other than that, we are free to do whatever we like. I mean, there's no limitation. You have to